Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Storyist. Oftentimes, we find it easy to judge others when we are not in their situation. But until we find ourselves in the same situation, we will never understand how painful their situation is. Today, I will be telling you a story about a landlord who shames an interracial couple looking for an apartment. But soon he regrets this act after getting the shock of his lifetime. Stay until the end of the video to find out what happened. Derek and Tasha are a newlywed couple and are now moving into the next big phase of their life, renting an apartment together. Tasha is a Catholic American girl and was raised in a strictly Catholic neighborhood. She grew up in a suburban town in California and attended a Catholic school all throughout grade school until high school. Her family had raised her to be the sweet, polite girl she is today, and her parents can never be more proud. Tasha is also a well-loved citizen in the town. She was gifted with a very beautiful and innocent-looking face, with golden locks of hair, light brown eyebrows, blue eyes, and a beautifully fair complexion. If anything, Tasha can never be more white. Her parents are both immigrants from Europe. Her father was from Germany and her mother was from Denmark. Their family is pretty well off. Her father owns half the land of their suburban town, and he owns a lot more farms in the outskirts of their town. Tasha enjoyed her pretty simple childhood back in her suburban hometown. But when she reached the age of college, she got accepted at the University of California. So she moved out from her parents' family house and went to the city and studied there. In the university, Tasha would meet her future husband, Derek. Derek is an African-American man who lived all his life in the state of Louisiana. He was born to an African father and an American mother. He got most of his physical appearance from his father, and they were very much alike in so many ways, even in their love for music. Derek grew up in a pretty well-off household. His father owns a bunch of food chain restaurants back in South Africa, while his mother also came from a pretty wealthy family. During his early years in life, he enjoyed a simple lifestyle with his African-American friends. When he went to grade school, he experienced a lot of bullying because of his color, and until he reached high school, he suffered from continuous discrimination. He became used to it. But being used to something does not mean it became less and less painful every time. Every single time, Derek is hurt by each word thrown at him growing up. So, when he went to college, he decided to go to an African American college in the state. It was exclusively made for African Americans, so they can have a proper education without being discriminated against. But soon enough, he received a scholarship letter from the University of California. And of course, he did not let go of the opportunity. And it's a good thing that he didn't, because he wouldn't have met his soulmate. In the summer party at the university, Tasha and Derek's paths would cross. Tasha was talking with her friends by the pool when Derek spotted her. The two instantly had a connection, and after a couple of months talking to each other, they eventually moved up their friendship to the next level. The couple dated all throughout college, and at first, Tasha was terrified to introduce him to her family. But when they got to their family home, her family warmly welcomed Derek, and they got along pretty easily. But the couple's thorny path was just about to start, as the couple were entirely opposite when it comes to their appearances. A lot of people would comment on their relationship, and were even times when people would look at Tasha with all admiration and then throw Derek a sharp look afterwards. This made the couple's relationship a bit shaky, but their love for one another stood out and they overcame these challenges. Just a year after finishing college, Derek proposed to Tasha and she agreed. The couple got married in an expensive beach wedding, and their plans to start life anew had finally started. Their first part of the plan was to live together and rent their own apartment. But coming from a wealthy family, they attended an open house for a luxurious apartment. Tasha was the first to enter the door, and she was instantly greeted by the landlord. "Oh my goodness, you are gorgeous," the landlord exclaimed. The landlord gleefully ushered Tasha to enter the door, but as soon as Derek came in, the landlord changed his expression. The landlord's big smile at Tasha suddenly shifted to a frown as Derek entered. "What can I help you with, sir?" the landlord asked sarcastically. Derek looked at Tasha, and she said, "He's actually my husband. We came to take a look at the house." With this, the landlord slowly shifted his gaze back to Tasha, this time with a wide disgust in his face. "Why?" with a full questioning look. Tasha did not understand at first, but being a couple who had endured a lot of interracial couple discrimination in the past years, she knew exactly what he meant. Tasha remained polite despite this and asked the landlord to continue the tour inside the house. The landlord gladly agreed, but he was obviously looking down at the couple all throughout the tour. When they made their way to the swimming pool area, the landlord said, "This is for common use, but I don't think you'd be allowed here." This confused Tasha, and she asked what the landlord meant. The landlord just smiled at her sarcastically and continued on the tour. When they reached the master bedroom, the landlord made another mean comment. He showed the couple the extra bed sheets inside the drawers and said, "These are free clean sheets. They're for free, and they are pretty expensive. Most of them are from luxury brands." At this point, Tasha was more offended and she confronted the man. "I'm sorry, but you're starting to be offensive. We can literally buy a whole luxury brand," said Tasha irritably. But the landlord just laughed at her. "You can buy a luxury store? Maybe. But your husband couldn't, obviously. Why are you even with a mobster anyway?" the landlord said harshly. This offended Tasha even more, and Derek just stood there behind her in silence.
"The mobster behind me is actually a millionaire. He owns a chain of restaurants in South Africa,"
Tasha blurted out in anger. The landlord laughed even more, telling her that the man's money was worth nothing in America. "And besides, if your man is rich, then that means you're the leech," the landlord insulted. Tasha and Derek felt insulted enough that they decided to leave the apartment. They decided not to buy, of course, but before the couple left, Derek said something to the landlord. "You will never understand our pain until you experience it yourself," Derek said and walked away. The landlord just laughed the statement off, and he did not believe it because he was already married to an American. But then, just a few weeks after the encounter, the landlord saw one of his landlord friends in the mall. He was purchasing a brand new car at the time, and he wondered how he could afford such. He asked his friend, and the friend replied, "This very wealthy interracial couple went to look at the luxurious apartment I was offering for rent. They loved it so much that they decided to buy it in cash. And they even doubled the price because they said I wasn't rude like the first landlord they encountered." The landlord knew at that moment that the couple his friend was talking about was the same couple who came to him a few weeks before. He regretted his decision to drive them away because of his mean words. "I would have been the one with a new car now," the landlord thought to himself. When he got back home, he saw his college daughter waiting for him on their couch. Beside her was an African-American college boy, and they were holding each other's hands. The landlord's heartbeat raced faster, especially when he saw his daughter holding out a pregnancy test.
"Dad, I'm pregnant, and Jay is the father,"
his daughter said. He felt his whole world fall down on him. He didn't utter a word. But then his daughter cried so hard. He went to his daughter and asked why, and the daughter replied, "Jay and I can't marry each other because people hate us. They always say I'm just a leech and that I just love Jay for his money, but that's not true." The landlord felt his daughter's sadness, and he regretted being one of those people who discriminate interracial couples. Then he remembered what Derek said to him before they parted. Since then, he treated every interracial couple with the same respect as everyone else, and he supported his daughter's relationship and marriage with Jay. That's all for today. We hope you enjoyed that video, and we'll see you in the next.